Grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you, 'cause real women don't bitch. No, real women don't. 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 Real women don't bitch.
Hey, thank you for joining me on the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast. This is your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I am the #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs because building mental muscle is necessary in order to implement successful business strategies. This show has been created for the woman who is not excuse-driven and needs help building a profitable business. I will be interviewing women from various fields who are willing to break the silence on struggles that specifically affect female entrepreneurs. Welcome to a show where I and guest speakers from time to time share our methods that help us beast our business no matter what is going on in our lives. Whether you are an online or brick and mortar business owner, this show is for you. We will hit every angle, personal, professional, and spiritual. Why? Because on any given day, you get hit with shit from a scenario involving one, more, or perhaps all of the above. It all impacts you and your mindset towards your business. I have made it my personal mission to provide a space where we dive deep into the BS we face on a day-to-day basis. Hey. Woo-hoo. Okay, so excited, right? Why am I excited? Whenever I come on the podcast like this, you know that's because I have a special guest. Now, I can talk to you guys all day long. However, I love it when other women decide to team up with me and to come and let you know what they're doing in the world, let you know what their journey has been like so that we can explore the possibilities, so we can keep our faith high, so we can keep trudging along. And so Miss Sheila and I, oh my God, we just met, but sparks flew immediately. Her story is a doozy. We don't have time to go over all of it, but she is definitely the epitome of against all odds, still standing, resilience, the whole nine. And so everybody join me in giving a big old welcome to Sheila. Yay, welcome Sheila. How you doing, beautiful?
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Yes, I am excited to have you here. And so, one of the first things I love for my guests to do is to just, let's kind of mingle, let the people know who you are. Nothing professional. Like just who is Sheila the woman? Tell us something about you.
Well, I am the mother of 6 children. They're all grown now. So 3 were mine and 3 I fostered to adopted. And I came out of the foster care system. So that's always been part of my heart and something that was really important for me to do. And I love my beautiful family. So that's one thing. I've always been an entrepreneur. And so I emancipated at 15, started college early. And by the time I was 23, I opened a gift store. It was 5,000 square feet. And it was about 5,000 a month back then. I'm dating myself because that was a while. So back then, I don't even know why they gave me the lease. Like I was convincing, I guess. And I figured it out, and I started a training program for at-risk youth. So kids that were emancipating from their homes would come over and work at the store for 6 months, get a training, and then get referrals to get other jobs because nobody wanted to hire them. And this is just the reality of the way things are. And I was so blessed because I was able to buy the other store buildings, and I ended up having 5 in Southern California and running these, but it was because it had that heart. And so that made all the difference. So it's how you're showing up and everything you do. Recently, I've had some ups and downs, some rock bottoms that happened to me with the Ventura fire. After working and traveling for 7 years with a company since the kids were kind of grown, I did that, and I finally decided, okay, I'm going to get a house again. I'm going to get settled. So I got a cute little house in Ventura by the beach. and I closed escrow on November 3rd. So then you fix it up, and you make it pretty, and you paint the walls, and you do everything nice. And December 3rd, we were getting ready to move in. It was late at night, and that's when the Ventura fire hit. So I lost that house.
Wow.
And everything in it, and it was like, really?
Man, I mean that was a mouthful, and I know that the ladies can dissect a lot from that. I'm not even going to try to chop it up right now. So I hear that you're compassionate. I hear that you're one of the people who definitely took their experiences and then said, I can transform this. This obviously has to do something with my calling. If I suffered abuse, then I should help women that are abused. Some people go into that zone. If I am handicapped and I've learned to deal with it, then I can help other people. If I have a disabled veteran that I'm married to, some of us our pains really do become our passion. And so can we go back just a little bit with you being emancipated and 15 years old, and even talking just a little bit about foster care? Because I love how you obviously at a young age, you transitioned and you began helping other people. But we grow, right? Because when we first start helping people, we don't necessarily do the best job. We learn and we become better. What were some of the struggles that you had to overcome becoming a better person, better suited, better able to help people being so young and wanting to pull other people out from the same struggle?
I think a big part of it was that I learned how to delegate and have an amazing peer group around me. So one of the main managers that I hired in my store, now I'm 23 and I hired someone that was probably 48. And she's like, I can't believe I'm working for a 23-year-old. And she was a retired, or not retired, but she had left social work in New York and come over to California. And she was my social worker. And she was an incredible sales lady, but she was my social worker for those kids. So I had this whole other thing going on in that store. And so that's kind of how I did it. And I learned a lot working with her and the kids. And then coming from, I was right there with them, not many years prior. So I was able to connect and see where they're coming from.
No, I like that. And everybody's not always that blessed, but you ended up setting yourself up for success by having some wisdom, right along in there. And of course, everybody's story doesn't have to be the same, but that's one of the things that, I think about when we're young and we're ambitious, we want to do a lot, but we're still a little rough around the edges. And so what does that look like with you growing as a leader and becoming more better suited to lead? So having someone there, your senior, definitely allowed you to have guidance and wisdom along the way. So, but you didn't only help other young adults become emancipated, just a little bit more, just to know about you personally. You've also adopted other children as well. I guess because there's so much going on in the world right now, anything that you would want to share at all with the audience about the importance of becoming a foster parent, or any wisdom? Can you just insert that, please? I just feel led to ask the question.
Well, I think it helps that you're guided. There's a lot of people that want to do it, but they haven't had the experience. And so, there's different ways to get started where you can do a part-time foster care where you're relieving a family. It's called respite care. And you're relieving a family and learning how to work with these children that come from various backgrounds and sometimes very serious situations. So it's a little different. And so that's a good way to kind of see if that's a good fit for your family and then go from there. And that's such a gift because a lot of times the children come in and they have court orders, so they can't leave the state. And maybe the foster parents want to travel and go to vacation to see their relatives or whatever. And so they need that respite care. So that's a good way to get started. Or also one of the things I've also continued to do is I work at different girls' homes. I chose girls because I'm a lady and, and it was just easier that way. And I go there and I help them when they're getting ready to emancipate and, like do the makeup and get dressed up and how to do a job interview and all that. And it's really interesting because even my daughter is now studying psychology. She's 24 and she's worked for 3 years at a girls' home for pregnant teenage mothers and their babies.
Oh,
And
I love it.
so I guess it's, that's just what we do. It's just part
Yeah.
of, yeah.
No, beautiful. And I have quite a few people that I'm connected to that are part of the foster care system. And I think that sometimes just the ideal of doing a noble service is what's leading people, but they don't necessarily understand all of the technical parts or the level of sacrifice and challenge and how you have to develop in order to do that. But I don't want to stay there. I do want people to, really truly get to know you. You have so many layers to your story. So what do you specifically do now, Mrs. I've been a bombshell entrepreneur since like forever. What's your primary thing that you do for a living?
Well, I have a lot of fun. That was my new rule. Like at a certain point in life, you're like, every single thing I do, I have to really love and have fun with. So I do lead an online course for real estate agents because I kind of got into that. And now I just teach the classes. I don't go out and do the real estate stuff. And then I also do fun events. And that's, 250, 500 people, and I'll help run those events for fun. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're paying me to party. This is awesome. That's cool. I could do this all day and night. And then I do consulting with various businesses and some other people that are very private, and I help them through what they're dealing with. I had a mother that was very well known in the world, but she would go home and drink. And she had that, and she had, the guy left. She's got these 2 babies, and she really needed to be very private about getting off of that and getting into healthier habits. And so I worked with her, and she's just incredible. And it's funny because if you knew who it was, you'd be like, my gosh, this is the most beautiful, most incredible person. And it's like what we think about ourselves and our self-esteem, and like how you could be on the cover of a magazine and you could not feel good about how you look. And I think that's because of the way society has like shown women, hey, you got to be this or that or the other to, this, I don't know, fantasy of what you're supposed to be. And it's never good enough. And it's like, no, you're not good enough. You're better than even that. You're so much better than that.
No, absolutely. And I don't know if you're going to take this as a compliment or not. I think it's a compliment, but I look at you and I keep thinking Pat Benatar. You guys need to go to the YouTube video. You guys need to go to the YouTube video if you're not watching, because as soon as I got on, I was like, oh my God, you look gorgeous. You got this sophisticated rocker babe. Like you got a good mix. You got a good blend going on. I love that. And I do agree. I think that society as a whole, regardless of, even when it's not just beauty, I believe that it's dictated what happiness and what success should look like. And so for you, I love the fact that you said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have fun. And I don't know if a lot of the women, this is a nugget, you guys, you really need to zone in on it. I find that a lot of women are like, I'm going to become an entrepreneur and I'm going to do something so that I can start making money. But then they replicate the same toxic environment of having a job. It's like, I found something to do to make money, versus saying, I found my passion, my calling. This is what I love doing. I could go to sleep, eat and drink this. I'm borderline going to get divorced because I'm so committed to this. I can't think of anything else. Just be absorbed with it. And actually believing that you could create something, consulting, partying, whatever it is, and enjoy it, that you have the right to do it. You have the right to build your business your way. So for those of you that, especially even now, COVID may have us feeling a little restricted, you still, the pressure will provide the opportunity for the creativity to do something different. But because you've said what you've said, I got 2 different angles. Can you remember a season when you personally, you might not have been as down and distraught as the woman that you help, but what were some of the self-esteem, insecurities, doubts, whatever those labels are, that you had to come out of and finding yourself? Or were you just always this confident and beautiful?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I returned back home after, being homeless for 3 years, then foster care, then emancipating. I had this whole thing, and I go back home to like where I went to elementary school. And now the kids are like, they're still in high school or they barely graduated and they're working at the grocery store. a few of the young girls that, you know, were my friends back in the day. And I'd come in and, well, I had my first baby when I was 18, you know, and so then I was no good and I was this and that, and who the hell did I think I was? Then I got a job at JPL programming at 18. Oh, I think I'm better than them. I'm like, what the hell? I haven't said anything. Then I lost weight. I'm too thin. I gained weight. I'm too fat. I made more money. I'm too rich. Before that, I was too damn poor. I was in a multicultural relationship and family. So my family's a beautiful rainbow, and that wasn't a good thing. You know, that was a big deal back then. And so I heard about that. And so I realized that whole thing about not being enough. And I was, oh, I am so much better than that. I have never said anything back. And years later, they were like, wow, when we were young, we said some cruel things, and here you're getting your stuff together and we're still working at Vaughn's. I'm like, okay. You know, and I actually helped a few of them and let go of that. I'm not judging back. Mm-hmm. It's, you know, kids do that. Yeah, adults do that. I don't know if adults are worse sometimes. No. You know, yes. And so I realized, you know, it wasn't them. It's what's going on in their own minds. I can't even imagine how they're judging themselves, you know?
Yeah. No, and one of my favorite words is authenticity. AWE. I spell it AWE. Leave people in awe of who you are. And you're right. You just reach a point where, for me, it was at one point you talk too much when people wanted somebody to stand up and I didn't. It's like, why aren't you speaking? You know, your butt's too big. You know, you did whatever. And just like you, young teen mom. But at the end of the day, I'm like you. I'm one of those people that I was like, I'm still going to do whatever the hell I want to do. I'm still going to be determined. And that's just where we have to be. And you're right. I honestly think that the older we get, the more obnoxious we get, because there's this level of false pride that says, I know more and I've done more now. So I even have a right to have this stupid ass opinion that I have about people. But anyway, you know, moving forward. So second question, you help people have fun. How has COVID impacted that facet of your business, and how have you navigated around it? So really, I put in two.
Well, I actually moved part of my main residence and home to Nevada so I could be in Vegas and have events and be very social and connect, and then go back to my other home in California and go back and forth and, you know, do events there. And it was perfect. And as soon as I moved over, everything shut down. So I was like, okay, wait a minute. I just built this whole life around doing, you know, events where we hug people and talk to people and get to know everyone. And so now we're online. And it's funny because, like, last night I was online with an interview with a whole group of women in Australia. And I have been all over the world, and there's no way I could, like, travel and fly everywhere and stay in the hotels and do all that. So I'm making friends in a different way and connecting to people. And I also noticed that the conversations that I have with my daughter, with my daughter moved home, and, you know, with part of my family and even my friends, we have deeper, more meaningful conversations because it's gotten real. And, yeah. You know, and now we have to deal with all this. And it's not about what we're doing, it's who we're being and how we're showing up.
No, absolutely. And honestly, some of us, for you guys that are listening, some of us were a little bit more ahead of the curve than others. When I started my business in 2016, it's always had a high, it was predominantly online. That's just the way that I started, because I saw something. And it's funny because I would get new clients and I'd be like, yeah, you got to, you know, create these groups. You got to do this stuff, create this atmosphere. And she's like, oh, but I work with people with this and it's so intimate. And how in the world are we? And I'm like, listen, I'm sitting here telling you, you need to do this, because my first summit, a matter of fact, I had like over 30 speakers and I did a roll call. I mean, and they were in Canada, and like you, they were in Australia, and they were in Germany. I mean, they were everywhere. And I was like, this is great. And, you know, date myself, I'm like, I remember pen pals, you know, so this graduated to another level. But what this whole entire situation has caused people to realize is that we do have to think outside the box. in order to be able to connect. And so a lot of people, I think they say things, they don't try to be superficial, but they are superficial. They'll say like, we're energy. And it's that people use love and light. Well, now you get to honestly see that we really are energy, because no, it's not the same. Don't get it twisted. I want to hug. I want to see you. I want to touch you. I want to be in the same atmosphere, but I have shared a many a tears, a many a laughs, a good glass of wine, all of that stuff, and have found that I've gotten greater support sometimes from my sisters that are across a Zoom meeting. And so for those of you that are still navigating and trying to figure out how you incorporate it into your business, it might only be from the networking perspective in the beginning. Even if you cannot figure out how to, it's deeper for you than a course. You don't necessarily see how you can transfer intellectual property into a viable product. Create the relationships, create the networks, because eventually I don't believe anything will ever be the same. But when things do begin to open back up, you will have relationships all over the place, and you have no kind of idea what doors will be opened for you if you don't, seize the opportunity right now. So, but yeah, utilizing Zoom spaces like that, intermingling with individuals. So what does it look like for you business wise? Have you been able to stay like even keel? Do you, of course, I'm not asking for your direct financials or something, but to kind of help the ladies, if you kind of got a little bit of a slump and was able to kind of rebound, what kind of advice would you give to the listeners to say, these are some of the things you should have in place, to keep yourself afloat? Because a lot of people, unfortunately, are losing their businesses right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So the first thing is, I sat down when this all, the shift hit the fan, and I sat down and did my budget and looked at, what did I plan for 2020 to look like? And, you invest in your business and you're always, okay, we're going to do this, that, and the other, and events, and and everything had a shift to online. Luckily, I also have online courses and things that I'm already doing, so that was easier. And so I did that, but there also had to be big cuts in even my personal spending, and what's happening at home, to make sure, because we didn't know, we had no idea in March what was going to happen. We're like, are we going to be able to get food, and what's going to go on here? And so we had to decide how to do that. And then I had a real conversation with my staff, the people that work with me, and we negotiated hours and times to make sure that they have work. And I also got them other positions part-time so that I could cut the hours. But everybody, and I always did that, that's something that's me, everybody got another job too. I'm very connected to a lot of people, so that made a big difference. And that way we're very connected still, and they help me, and they're also working somewhere else where they had to have part-time and virtual and this and that. And so it worked out really well, but it wasn't easy to make those shifts, or not to be able to go out for, this is so hard on our young adults too.
Yes.
Kids, and then having your kids home, and it's just such a big shift for all of us. It's different. Even relationships are different, because you don't spend every moment with your loved one, and then you're like, wait a minute, this isn't as fun. You need to leave so that I can be happy and longing to see you again at the end of the day. Go away. So it's a big adjustment. And I think one of the things is just knowing your orientation of where you are on the map now and what your new outcomes, new goals are, is going to make all the difference. Being really honest.
Ooh, yeah. And I can say this, I'm a little bit different from some of the others, because being that my husband and I are all we got down here in Atlanta, and we both work from home, it's been just us and the kids at home. But still there's a stillness, or a staleness, I shall say, in the atmosphere, where things just didn't feel the same. And even when the kids wanted to go to the park, you know, in the beginning, and we didn't know exactly what was what we were trying to navigate. And they'd be like, no, it's like, why? You know, my two youngest are 7 and 5 years old. You know, then you know what I'm saying? They're not getting that. They want to go where they want to go. They want to buy what they want to buy. And you're right. I'm like, I can't even just go to the store and buy toilet tissue. I'm glad that my grandmother taught me to stack up and stock up on some certain items, because I was just like, okay, I guess one day when I go in the store to be there, by the grace of God, by the time they finally started restocking the shelves, I still had some at home. But yeah, but even now, you know, grocery shopping, it's a chore. Where I used to have I would say I'm going here for produce and I'm going here for these items. Whereas now it's like, okay, well, I could go to the Publix over here, but I need to drive to the one over there for something as simple as the fact that I can't find my husband turkey bacon. You know, it's like I can't get it at the local Kroger anymore, so I have to go over here. I sometimes go to 4 or 5 different grocery stores just to get the items that I'm looking for. So much has changed, but I want to thank you for even just encouraging the women, you know, to budget, you know, even more. We all experience and we hear different things, but I have found in the online arena, a lot of emphasis has been put on money mindset. A lot of people are teaching, you know, different strategies about how you handle your money, but it's always about proving to the universe that you believe that you're worthy of more, versus delegation, versus good stewardship, versus, you know, investing, proper saving, and knowing what you're supposed to do with your money. And so, yeah, we've all had to make some really mature decisions. And some of you might be one mature decision away from being in a bad situation. So just let go of certain things. I love the fact that you were able to negotiate and actually have conversations with the other women that work for you. Some of you all that have really been trying to hold on, and because you're so busy, you know, wanting to believe that something's going to change faster, wanting to be the light at the end of the tunnel. Once again, it's hard decisions. You may need to say, okay, I'm used to paying you to do X, Y, and Z, but something's better than nothing, and see where do you all meet in the middle and how do you do that. So you share quite a bit, darling. You share quite a bit. You know me, I just always interject and I give my little nuggets to the people that are listening to make sure that they get them and they hear them. So what do you have, you know, for the ladies and gentlemen? Got a few gentlemen that listen in too. What do you have for them that may be of interest?
As far as things to share, I do have some things coming out. So it was going to come out in January, and my youngest son did pass away. And so he passed away in December. He had a heart condition, and he was my little heart. It was very hard on us. So I did what anybody would do, and I just put everything on hold for a few months. And then, of course, COVID hit. And my daughter said, Mom, if ever we needed a universal pause for our family, this was the year. So there's gifts in everything. And when I mentioned that house fire earlier, when I had that house fire, I lost my car, my house, my cat got eaten by a coyote. All these things happened at once, and I felt alone. And I had to learn to ask for help when you need it. And I applied certain things from all the personal development and training I've had and things I've done in the past, and I got back on track really fast. And I thought, you know what? I want to write this out. So I created the Boots formula. It's a formula for who are you being in all you're doing? What's your orientation? We talked a little bit about orientation with your finances. It's order of operations for getting back on track. Then it's your thinking and your mindset. That's the T in Boots. And then S is stepping up and stepping into a new thing. And so I wrote a book, and it's called Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It's the formula from rock bottom back into action. And any situation, I had no idea we were going to have this situation, because this is a serious one. And it goes over different ways to apply the Boots formula, different people's stories. And all the little tabs that I've marked are different gifts based on what you're walking through right now. You can go to the chapter, if it's relationship, if it's parenting, and how to get back on track with your career, finances. You go to that, and there's free gifts. So there's additional ebooks and and meditations and videos that you can get for free when you get the book. And there's also some free if you just request it. You could start with the Boots meditation, and there's so SheilaMac.com/Boots meditation, and that's where you will get all the free gifts. Or just go to SheilaMac.com, and there you'll find lots of resources to help. My goal is that we also have a community. So I grew up with my grandmother when I was very young, and all her friends that were 60s and 70s, in that age bracket. They were all strong, beautiful businesswomen, diverse from all over in Los Angeles. So we had people from everywhere. And they sat down and they'd tell their stories of how they got through the concentration camp and lost their family, and how they moved here from another country because the ruler changed and they had to leave everything they owned, and all these different stories, each had their own. And I'm this little girl, 5 years old, and I said, wow, okay, I am going to have my own adventures. We're going to have our own waves, but I'm going to make it just like these ladies. So I think a community is so important, like your show, bringing people together. So along with the book, I have a community on Facebook, and that's where if you're going through something and you want to share with some other ladies, you go there, and it's Bootstraps and Bra Straps community, so we can share our stories and support each other through this year.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are listening, the respective links will be provided for you to go purchase the book, join the group, go to the website, explore, and have some fun. And I like the fact that it sounds like the book is basically all encompassing. Me personally, with a lot of things that I do with coaching, I don't like for people to only, like you said, want to focus on mindset or only want to focus on the business, because it's all connected. What we're going through emotionally, spiritually, financially, professionally, all of these things, they each impact one another. Now, of course, certain areas may need a little bit more attention than others at different times, but there's no one solution. There's no one magic pill. And what we are definitely learning, if we hadn't already learned it prior to COVID, is that we've got to really, truly be in tune with who we are and what in the world is going on around us. Okay, so Sheila, you've been a blessing. You have. I love everything that you shared. I know that plenty of women and some men were inspired by your story. Is there a last word of wisdom that you would like to share with the audience, as if you haven't already shared enough?
I think, ask for help when you need it. And it's about who you're being and all you're doing, whether you're, cleaning your house, working with your children, walking your puppies, whatever you're doing, who are you being and how are you showing up? Because whether you run a big corporation or you're the manager of your home, the leader of your home, it's how you're going to show up that's going to affect everybody else in your environment.
Absolutely. Whoo, y'all know how I feel about that accountability. How you show up has a greater, more substantial impact than you may actually want to give it credit for. So I hope you all have enjoyed this segment. We are going to allow you to go sit and just soak and bask in all of this beautiful wisdom that was shared with you. Sheila, thank you again for being a guest on the podcast. You've been a blessing. And for those of you that are listening in, go get your goodies. We're going to get out of here. All right, you guys? Bye.
Bye.
Inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you, 'cause real women don't bitch, no. Real women don't, 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 real women don't bitch.
Hey, 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 thank you for joining me on the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast. This is your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I am the #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs because building mental muscle is necessary in order to implement successful business strategies. This show has been created for the woman who is not excuse-driven and needs help building a profitable business. I will be interviewing women from various fields who are willing to break the silence on struggles that specifically affect female entrepreneurs. Welcome to a show where I and guest speakers from time to time share our methods that help us beast our business no matter what is going on in our lives. Whether you are an online or brick and mortar business owner, this show is for you. We will hit every angle, personal, professional, and spiritual. Why? Because on any given day, you get hit with shit from a scenario involving one, more, or perhaps all of the above. It all impacts you and your mindset towards your business. I have made it my personal mission to provide a space where we dive deep into the BS we face on a day-to-day basis.